Hi, everybody.
Gene.
So, Crow's Nest is back. Andy's flashing in and off. But we have a whole new panel of sculptors of no less merit than the last panel of sculptors. I'd like for everybody to go around and introduce yourself. And if you have something to plug, a website or a web store, go ahead and do that now.
Yeah,
Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine Van Patten, CVP, or I guess Rainbow Sculptor on the forums. And I just opened a new STL printable store on My Mini Factory. You can find us at Moonlight Minis on My Mini Factory. And I've got a couple of things on there, just kind of dipping my toe in the water, but big plans to launch more stuff.
Great. Chris.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Chris Lewis, and I push pixels. And if that kind of thing interests you, you can join me on Twitch on Saturdays at 2 p.m. Central Time at Talon Games Online. That's Twitch.com/Talon Games Online.
Fantastic. Andy.
I was going to be like a cool kids and show Christine's miniatures on.
You knew you were next. What are you doing? Turn away from your camera.
Oh, sorry. Andy Pieper. I don't have anything to push. I often go as tail spinner. I'm on the Reaper forums a lot. Sometimes I hit the Discords. But beyond that, I mostly I've been sculpting for about 10 years, painting for close to 30. And actually, I've been sculpting for 13 years now. Yeah, and now I went to digital a year and a half ago and been loving that. So, and my big new passion is 3D printing. You can see my stuff behind me there. I print now for Dark Sword and a lot of other stuff. So that's kind of become a big passion for me. So that's about it.
Aren't you teaching a class in printing?
I am. There's a
When
good
is
thing to
that?
pump him. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. It's the Intro to Resin 3D Printing. Basically, what you would need to know to make the decision as to whether you want to embark upon this, and just the basic startup. And it's a mind dump. It's kind of the big everything in the garbage dumpster of everything I've learned in the last year plus of learning how to 3D print and going through a couple different printers and that sort of thing, and all the tests that we did. So it certainly isn't going to be a comprehensive course. I can't do it in 2 hours. But it is definitely a mind dump of everything you would need to know to at least get started and make a decision as to whether you want to go.
I'm signed up for it. I mean, you're fresh
Excellent.
on that. So a lot of your problems that you've recently overcome are that's great. That's great. Gene.
I am the mighty El Lagarto.
Wrong segment. That's the next segment.
Oh,
sorry.
That's in a couple hours.
Yeah.
That's
dang. Sorry. Okay.
I'm
I'm
ready. I'm ready for it too. I'm ready. I just want to burn through this so I can get the D&D. But yeah, let's go.
And I'm a sculptor, and yeah, I sculpt a lot for Reaper. So yeah, there you go.
I think we missed an opportunity for Chris Lewis to promote the hair gel that he's utilizing on the show today.
That's very interesting that you see hair gel, because my hair is actually perfectly dry.
Oh, well, it's standing straight up. It's awesome.
That's because it's short
to it. Oh, okay. All right. There we go.
Yeah, it's this kind of content why people are tuning in right now.
Sorry.
It's great radio.
That's fantastic. That's tremendous. So let's get started. My first question, and we'll just go around in a circle here to get started. We all know you as sculptors for Reaper and other places. What are some of your other artistic pursuits? And I'd like to start this one off with Christine.
I have a lot, actually. I do some doll customization. I do a lot of handmade bread making. I make all kinds of stuff. I'm always crafting something. I've made my own books. I've made my own paper. I've made my own watercolor paints. I love watercolors. I do a lot of watercolors when I can. So yeah, it's kind of all over the board, but I like crafting in general, scrapbooking, art journals, stuff like that.
Great, fantastic. Chris?
I assume the same question.
Sure.
No,
go
a different
ahead.
one.
If there's something else you want to say,
Well,
go ahead.
I did hear this
Come
question
on.
in the last panel, and so I did prepare something. But how long do you have? This is a rather large subject.
Yeah, let's
really,
keep it short.
What's your favorite other artistic pursuit?
my favorite other artistic pursuit at the moment, probably woodworking.
Oh.
What are you making?
What are you making?
What am I making? Mostly furniture.
Furniture.
Oh.
Nothing terribly fancy. Just trying to collect the skills to use the tools properly.
Tremendous. And do you find that enhances your experience in sculpting or relies on your experience in sculpting?
Well, it's very closely related because it's just another form of sculpting. There's a lot more mechanical things that go behind it because things have to fit together. You can't just push those forms and get them to union magically with the push of a button.
Can't just smooth it out, huh?
Yeah, you can't take
No
that little
dynameshing
tool
in wood.
squish it in there. But no, it's my digital sculpting informs me in there, and things to look for and how things fit together. It definitely tells me what I did wrong rather quickly, so that's pretty cool.
That's true. Instant feedback. Andy?
So yeah, for me, it's jewelry. I started becoming a jeweler about 5 years ago, just on the side, and really started with the miniatures. I got a casting set up just so I could cast my own miniatures, and moved into jewelry because it's a lost wax casting. So I have a whole foundry, built a jewelry bench, did that. I recently made my son designed in ZBrush and printed and cast my son's fiance's engagement ring, and I'm now working on their wedding bands right now because
How cool is that?
developing those. And so recently I've gotten, just really love silversmithing, and I've gotten into a lot more doing some Viking weaves. I'm got Norse heritage, and I really kind of got, so I've been doing a lot of Viking weave fused bands. And so my wife and I have we do a bit of a charity thing through our church, where we supply wedding rings to Haitian brides. So they like silver, actually, and so I create a lot of rings that we send down to Haiti. So I try to do at least a couple rings a week. We try to send a couple hundred rings a year down. Some I make, some we get at estate sales and stuff. So that's our kind of one of our passions right now. So yeah, so I just moving metal, love moving metal.
Yeah, I think the last time I talked to you, you mentioned that you guys did go to a lot of thrift sales and yard sales and stuff, and used a lot of reclaimed metal and a lot of the stones out of some of the stuff you've been buying.
Yep, that's exactly what we do. So my wife and I, she goes, and that's her side of it all. She goes and finds all the stuff, and anything that's good and reusable, she'll clean up and either reuse. Some of the stuff, she goes to some charities that help women get out of trafficking situations. They sell and they raise money for it. Others, if it's rings, it goes down to Haiti. If it's broken or anything like that, I take it, I can melt it, I can take the stones out, I can repurpose it down here. Also things like old candlesticks and stuff, anything sterling silver. I just harvested almost 2 pounds of silver, put that in the safety deposit box, but I harvested almost 2 pounds of silver out of about 30 old candlesticks because they were just old busted up candlesticks that they had at the thrift store. So we try to buy everything, pennies on the dollar as much as we can to get the silver as cheap as we can. Gold is just so expensive. I can't work in gold very often. I'm looking forward to doing my son's wedding band because I'll be able to work in gold because of, whole different thing. So anyway,
Tremendous.
Sorry.
No, that's great. It's nice to hear. That's why we asked the question.
Lately, I've been learning to.
Go ahead.
Just lately, I've been learning to set stones. So that's the big thing. Setting stones is a whole new art. So
it is, and tooth gritting. Yeah, Gene.
Well, first, I'd like to make a comment. Seems like the background stopped. Did we stop streaming?
Do you want to start again?
No.
I'm sure
No.
Justin can start up again for you.
We're
No,
still
I
streaming.
just paused it. We're fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want the people to miss out,
No,
Right.
you're always thinking of the people. See, Gene is
That's
just
right.
a man of the people.
That's exactly right. Let's see. Our other artistic pursuits. I do a lot of 2D stuff. I like to draw and not so much paint. I've tried to be a miniature painter, but I don't have the skills. We'll leave that to the experts.
Yeah, you've had a horrible teacher.
Yeah. Well,
Isn't this one
I'm
of yours,
only
Gene?
as good as my. No,
Is
that's
this
one
one
of
of yours?
Izzy's. That's
That's
one of
Izzy's.
Izzy's, I
That's one of
believe.
Izzy's.
Yeah.
But Gene, you
But,
have done T-shirts and logos and all
yeah.
that stuff. You do a lot of
Yeah.
digital painting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, coloring more so. I'm not like a. I would like to get into digital painting. Actually, that's on my list to do, but I haven't had the time to pursue that quite yet. So, I actually am a musician. I do a lot of music too. I can play guitar and keyboards and banjo and mandolin and on and on and on. But that's kind of one of my hidden talents. I don't usually pull that out. So
I did not
Oh, I've
know
heard
that.
some tales.
I didn't know
I've
that
heard some
either.
tales. I've heard you had a great voice, actually.
Yeah.
oh no, I don't know.
We
about
need to
that.
get you hooked
Those
up.
are all
We'll
lies.
get-
Well, I
We'll get you
I
hooked
won't
up
tell you
with
who I
Derek.
heard it from. I think
Yeah,
they're probably
it's
best.
all lies. It's all lies.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's great. Michael, how about you? What else do you do that's artistic other than paint miniatures?
That's about it.
That's about it.
It's like,
There you
that's all I
go.
do.
That's all
You
I
don't
do.
build
I can't
anything in your
draw.
house? You don't do anything like that?
Well, I guess if you consider that artistic, I've been
Sure.
remodeling our house for the last however many years we've been here.
I'd
redid
say
the
that's a
stairs.
rather major work of art,
Redid.
actually.
Yeah, that redid the fireplaces, retiled it, and all that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, I'm joking. I do have a background in photography and like to take pictures, and I still get into that. I still have a blast doing that as well. But yeah, primarily it's just painting miniatures and appreciating you guys' great sculpts as well.
Wow, that's nice of you
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah,
I
what
think
about
you're
you?
fishing for compliments about your painting now, but
No.
He
why
doesn't
don't you
have
go
to
ahead and
fish.
ask a question? What,
I think
what
you need to
questions
answer
do you
your
have?
own question, Jason.
Yeah, that's
Jason
what I
needs
was
to
going
answer.
with that.
Oh,
Jason
okay.
needs to answer his own question.
Real quick, I came to this hobby through trying to make money in college, I
That was a
guess.
mistake.
So at that point, I was inlaying fretboards on guitars with mother of pearl. I carved a lot of fossil ivory pistol grips. I got into stone carving from there, jewelry work, carving miniature stone things for jewelry. I did some comics once in a while. I think most of us probably share a love of drawing, if nothing else. But right now, mostly jewelry. I'm looking at doing some larger scale carvings out of some driftwood pieces, and I'm hoping I get a chance now that it's nicer out to go and do that.
Did you make
But-
that tiki mask?
I did not make that tiki mask. My tikis are all larger. They're carved out telephone poles, and they're holding up the roof on my tiki bar in the back.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I like tikis. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I was going to ask a question to the panel since we're doing a sculptors panel. What is, and we'll go around and we'll start with Gene. Is there a certain subject matter that you would like to do that maybe you don't get an opportunity to do a lot? You tend to sculpt for all of you guys. I can kind of think when I think of each of you, I think of various, okay, I know this sculptor does typically
What have I
these
been
types of
typecast
things.
as?
Yeah.
When we get to you, I'll tell you, shipbuilder.
What's your
Let
group?
us know.
Yeah, but is there something, Gene, in particular that you're like, I would really like to start working on this subject matter, and that it's not in your normal wheelhouse, or somewhere you'd like to expand into?
That's an interesting question. I would. Well, I've been typecast as I do a lot of chibi kind of cutesy things, which is fine. That's fun. I also do quite a few female sculpts, which is fun and fine. I used to do a lot of monsters. I don't get the chance to do many monsters anymore. I think I'd like to do that, and I'd also like to do some some busts. I don't think that's really in Reaper's wheelhouse right now, but I wouldn't mind giving it a shot.
You don't do any cool time. You do no cool monsters.
I don't get to do a lot of monsters. That's I just don't get to do them anymore. That's kind of the exception, not the rule. So
it's only because I can't do chibis or human figures,
which is totally not true.
Yeah. Andy, same kind of question to you. What have you? We're not going to talk about identify each person's pigeonholedness, but what would you like to expand into that you haven't really had the opportunity to yet? What are you like? I wish I'd get assigned this.
I really want to just get in more of the humanoids. I'm not a human sculptor. I never will be. I don't really enjoy the people. But I've been mostly typecast into furniture and that kind of stuff, solid work stuff, and then animals, right? Because animals are my passion. I love animals and I love creatures. So those are the things that, to me, that's the deal, right? So I love the monsters. I want to do more monsters. I want to get into dragons. Honestly, I just recently did a whole bunch of drakes that I started a year ago, just to see if I could and see what I could do with it and learn some more about ZBrush on it. But I really want to get more into that kind of creature.
And where are your drakes? Where are your drakes? If we went on to pick them up,
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say yet.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought we already covered that, but maybe it was in person.
Yeah, probably in person at this point. I don't know if I'll let him make the announcement. But yeah,
okay, I'm sorry.
They definitely have. They have been picked up, but it wasn't Reaper. So we're finalizing it now. So. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited. They've been printing out pretty good, so I've got a lot of them.
Oh, nice.
So lots of little changes we've been doing. Actually, the real ones, no head on them, but red one. We got a whole line of them done. But yeah, so I want to do more of that stuff. So honestly, I love the Goroloth last year and getting to do the spider. I love those big monsters.
Piece. Both of those are tremendous pieces.
I love those, and I want to do some more. I'm not a full-time sculptor like you guys, so it's like I have to. Oh man, Michael, you knocked that out of the park too. That was just thank you for so much.
It's
for
still
doing
in
such great
progress,
work. But I loved watching you go along on that. So, but that's what I love. So I would like to do more. I don't think I'm doing anything for Bone 6 yet, so I have to talk to Ron at some point and see if there is something coming. But beyond that, I've just been really busy. So. Work's been crazy this year and stuff. So again, I work full time, and I only do a few pieces, here and there. So I take what I can get usually. So most of my work lately has been Dark Sword for my dog line and all that. So
yeah, and you did my Kaya dog. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the one I was thinking of, and I can never say the word the right way. Is it cattle Beebus? Cattle?
Oh,
I never been able to pronounce that.
Kettlebleepus. Yeah, that was the last thing. Nothing killed me. Kettlebleepus, I think, is what it's pronounced.
And you did that off of Izzy art, right?
Yes, and that was the last green I ever did. Blew my shoulder out. I literally can't hold the tools for longer than about a half hour anymore. I have to go through physical therapy.
You didn't do that sculpting green putty, did you?
Yeah, that was all green putty. That was my last green putty.
No, I mean you didn't blow your shoulder out sculpting green putty, did you?
Yeah, on that Catoblepus, because Ron wanted it so quickly. I was doing 6-7 hours at a time, and it was the final straw. It was coming for years, but that was the final straw.
I had no idea you got injured doing that.
Yeah.
That's
injury
work is in order or something.
Huh?
Good Lord. I had no idea. I'm sorry. That I didn't mean to resurrect that painful memory.
Oh no, it's fine. It's like I got all my arm cradles now, and I got ZBrush now. It got me into ZBrush. I would never have gone to ZBrush if I hadn't blown my arm out, honestly. Gene knows that, right? I mean, how many years were you trying to get me to ZBrush, and I was like, I don't want to look at a computer screen, right? You know.
Come to the dark side, Luke.
Yeah, and now Christine laughs at me because there's no way I'd ever go back, because it's just I love this, and now I'm doing my dogs in ZBrush because we got this new printer that can print them out, you know. So
Yeah.
I didn't think that was possible. Now I can get fur the way I want it to look out of
Yeah, the
ZBrush
printing technology has just
great.
turned
I'm not going to
tremendous,
say we
so-
told you so, but we told you so.
All right, Chris. I'm not going to talk about what you're actually pigeonholed in, but seriously, you've done a lot, and you've really expanded your line of various miniatures,
Portfolio.
from space to portfolio. There's the right word that interviewers should know. But is there something that you're like, again, same question to you. What would you like to do that you have not done?
Well, anytime there's I get things in my head that I cannot move beyond. I just have to get them out, or I just can't continue doing the work I'm supposed to be doing. So I've never really suffered from, I want to do this and I can't. I just make the time and do it on my own. It may never see the light of day, but it's done. It's out of my head and I can move on. So as for things to get paid for, I think larger figures. The last on Clever Crow, where you were asking me what are one of my weaknesses, and it's one of the things that we as miniature sculptors don't really get to do, is go down and do hands, real hands, not just pulled sausages around a form. So larger figures is
cool.
That would
You
be
mean
lovely.
bigger than a pirate ship?
I was gonna say you have the largest
Yeah.
mid
Well,
for
you
your
have the-
breed,
exactly.
so that's the point. So,
You have the
Yeah,
largest
that's what I'm talking
miniature
about.
in the world.
Yeah. So the pirate ship is no longer the largest figure I've done. So
Wow.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Wow.
yeah,
That's right.
I've recently done a dark elf wizard tower for Toon Guardian, and that thing is 9 or 10 floors tall.
Awesome.
And I built in
cool.
channels and holders for installing lights and everything into it.
Way
You
to
couldn't-
break the
you couldn't-
record
you
like
couldn't
twice in a
convince him
row.
Couldn't convince him to what?
to put a giant pair of hands somewhere on the tower.
Holding it up.
Right.
No, I
Yeah.
couldn't sell that. Although that's a great
Oh.
idea for like a Stonehenge where the
Well, there
pillars
you
are the
go.
fingers of the hand.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
fantastic.
So maybe that's another angle I can come at him from.
All right. Well, I don't want
Yeah,
to read
I would-
any-
I would
That's
try
for
it.
an upcoming Kickstarter. I think he's hoping to start that late April.
If you can't do a large
wanna
figure,
leave-
just start doing large parts and throwing them in as bases. That's an elbow.
I don't
That's
want to
an elbow.
leave.
He's riding on an elbow.
I don't want to leave. I do not want to leave Christine out. I want to ask her the same question as well, Jason. What would you like? What haven't you been tasked with? What hasn't Ron asked you to sculpt that you really want him to contact you and say, Christine, I need you to sculpt this?
I mean, he usually doesn't let me do any monsters. I guess because there's so many of you that are much better at it and more practiced at it than I am, and so
Well, you're
he's
not
kind of
angry
like,
enough.
I'm gonna leave that to the people who do it well. So I don't get to do monsters very often. But
Some of us are
But I would-
limited. That's our only ability, as I pointed out to Gene.
Yeah.
But
so it sounds
I
like
also
it sounds like
like to
Jason's
do, like,
sucking
the-
up all the monsters. That's
That's
what I'm
Yeah.
me.
getting
Yeah.
out of this.
That's
yeah,
me.
he does.
The monster
I want to
sucker.
do. I want to do more of like the, like Gene's arch demons and like the bigger baddies. I want to do
Cool.
more of that. That'd be cool.
Nice. Jason?
Or like
So-
dragons.
So Michael's just sowed a lot of dissent and horrible feelings here with his question.
It's carefully
I always have an
crafted, I'm
agenda.
sure.
Yeah, I have an agenda. What?
Wow, way to throw your co-host under the bus.
Yeah, no, but Jason, how about I'd like to ask you the same question too, because you've just kept you suck up all the monsters. Is there something that you'd like to inhale
I don't
as well?
really suck up all the monsters. Honestly, it's because I can't do.
no. Oh no, Bones 5. Every time I went to Ron and go, hey, can I sculpt that one? Nope, Jason's got it. How about that one?
Yep.
Nope, Jason's got
Yep.
it. How about that one? Nope, Jason's got it.
How much do you pay Ron? Because I pay Ron a lot of money for those designs. I think you've got the relationship inverted. I think you think maybe that you're making money. The idea is to spend money so you can sculpt what you want. Actually, there's a few things. I would like to sculpt some more female forms. I would like to do some more busts. I'm probably going to do a couple more dragons or dragon-y things. That's something that I haven't done for a while. Other than that, I mean, maybe there's gnomes. There's some other things I like to take a poke at, but I've been pretty blessed in that I've been able to do a variety of things for Reaper and for some of the other companies we've mentioned here, actually. So I'm pretty happy.
As an aside to Michael's question, I think we all get kind of pigeonholed into the things we do,
Sure.
and so that doesn't allow us to do those other things. Bobby does all the gnomes, so none of us get to do gnomes. Jason, you do a lot of monsters, so they just don't come around to the other sculptors. I think that's just kind of one of those things, but you can still get to do those things for other companies or yourself.
I don't do monsters with
whatever.
wings, for instance. I mean, that's just it's just weird. I was thinking about that the other day. I don't do much with wings for Reaper. So in one sense, that's good. In another sense, if you're a sculptor trying to work their way up, I think it's important to find other companies, or now with the STL thing, so that you can start expanding some of your range. Maybe your primary clients aren't assigning you the assignments that you want, but I think it's absolutely fantastic to go off. Like Chris was talking about, that really hit a chord when you get a picture in your head and you have to sculpt that thing. That happens to me an awful lot. Some of my best figures have been those figures. That where they're in your head, you got to get them out before. You got to clean that slate, swab the deck, whatever the heck you're calling it. But some of those figures that have caught your attention and have been already built in your imagination are very important to do. Even if you can't do them for one of your primary clients, go ahead and do them. Get them out. Those might turn into a new portfolio piece. How about you, Michael? Anything you want to paint other than miniatures, houses, airplanes, cars,
garages,
pinstriping?
It's
shop
it's
floor?
funny that the whole kind of pigeonholing. I get pigeonholed to a certain degree in what I end up painting. Lately, especially for Reaper, it's been painting the larger figures. And characters or the cutie stuff tends to go to Rhonda or whatever, but it does happen to all of us. And that's what it was, a question that I was kind of thinking about for the painters panel, but I thought it would fit in well with this group as well. And, you do get thrown into these silos, and you guys are all super exceptional in your own silo, but outside of it as well. I can think of individual examples, all the things that you guys wish you would do. I was thinking, I can think of things that you've already done in that little genre of area that you want to do more in. I'm like Christine, the Mushroom Queen, fantastic. Your gem dragons you did, fantastic. Those are just great examples. Gene,
he liked the Mushroom Queen so much, his character fell in love with it in our D&D set. I've never seen anything quite like that before.
That's not creepy at all.
Well, she does have some persuasive capabilities with all those spores.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going with. I have some
Honestly,
unrealized boon too.
Getting into sculpting, the typecast thing was the thing that surprised me the most. Honestly, as coming from, coming into this and stuff. I wasn't expecting that, especially after we got more into this. And I was like going to try everything and do everything, and I don't know any sculptor here who couldn't pick up and sculpt anything that's in any fantasy catalog anywhere, right? I mean, you'd have your own style, you'd have your own spin. We all have our own little way of approaching things and our idiosyncrasies, but we can all sculpt pretty much anything. And it's so funny to me that we get so typecast. We didn't typecast ourselves. That happened like almost immediately right off the bat,
Yeah.
Some of it though is
really
an economic. Some of it's an economic choice, because we tend to get in a groove. Those are the things we can do quicker. So if there's any element of speed involved, you're going to go where your groove is to get that thing done for your client. Where you may have to spend more time on something that's a little bit out of your groove, and just because I've always said we live at the terrible intersection of art and commerce. Okay, so a lot of our artistic choices are actually influenced by our clients' economic needs.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons we do get typecast a little bit is because they know you can go to Andy to get this and Gene to get this, Christine to get this and Chris to get this, and they're going to nail it right away, where they might have a little struggle with something else. Okay, and it's a struggle we welcome as sculptors, but it's not necessarily welcome to take another week on something if you're on a deadline. And I'm not talking specifically Reaper, I'm talking about industry wide.
That's how I originally got typecast into furniture and that kind of stuff, was because I wanted to be part of Bones 1. And Ron's like, I got nothing for you. Well, unless you want something not too sexy, nobody else wants it, but I need a bunch of sacks and crates and all that kind of stuff, and I can't get anybody else to do it. I'm like, hey, I'm not sexy. Why should my sculpting be?
Andy, I think you got typecast into furniture before that. All your critters on sticks.
Oh God, you had to go there. Did you have to go there? Wow.
What? This is a story I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be. I've been trying to bury it for several years.
Critters on stick. You can make your own story up. It's gonna be juicy.
Yeah.
Oh
Go
God.
ahead, Andy. Let's hear it.
Let your mind run wild. Yeah.
We're all
Andy,
friends here.
let's just put it this way.
I was going for more dynamic sculpts for a while there with my animals, and I wanted them flying or moving or whatever, but of course, gravity. And so I was having like trees and stuff like that, and I had a koalas on, and all that. And whoever painted the wyvern that I did for Reaper really was the one who really solidified this for me. Because the wyvern is supposed to be flying past the tree, and its tail's just supposed to be touching the tree. But when they put it together, it looked like this. And the way the camera angle is done for the official shot, it looks like that tree is shoved right up that wyvern's rear end. And I'm like, it's backwards. They put it on the backwards. And I was like, no, and Gene's been giving me crap.
Poor
everybody.
Andy.
I mean, I get this everywhere I go. They call it my paladin wyvern. So
I can actually beat that though. I can beat that very easily. I once sculpted a running critter, and at that point we were trying to anticipate where the metal flow was going to go. So I added a little bit of a sprue, and I did what I had seen done before and sprued the two back legs together myself, and even etched on there, remove this tab. I think I put. Every one of those painted examples has that tab still on it and painted with the rest of the critter. So, that, I don't know. That wasn't a painted piece by Michael Proctor, though, so he removes it.
No. And I just want to be clear that, Andy, I did not paint that wyvern. That was another
No,
person.
it wasn't you. I'm not going to name names. He doesn't work for Reaper anymore, but yeah.
No. Yeah.
I do give him crap about it once in a while if I ever talk to him.
Right.
Well,
It's
speaking
all in
of
good fun.
typecast stuff, Chris, I had a question, fairly technical
Is it about a
question.
ship?
No, well, sort of on hard edge,
Are
on
there
hard
more
edge
ship
sculpting.
figureheads coming?
You do a lot of cav models,
Mhm.
and obviously the pirate ship, but I'm thinking more of the cav models. They are wonderfully hard edged, which is something my whole career that has escaped me. What are tips for somebody that wants to start out with hard edge sculpting? You can go with digital.
Well, if the object is to maintain a hard edge, you really have to sculpt the whole shape. It was really strange to me because I started in industrial design. Everything is shapes, even if it's organic. So that was never a problem for me seeing the shapes that underlie a structure. And I would just build those and just keep layering it and build the shapes on top of shapes until I got the overall detail that was supposed to be there. But it's really about breaking it down into their simplest shapes and refining them from there. And I like working in layers because everything has layers and nothing is just one monolithic shape unless it's literally a monolith. But being able to see the shapes, it's the most important part, and reproduce them. And also, because it's hard edged, if you want to maintain that across the entirety of the project, you have to be able to build them with as few polys as possible. And that's kind of a meme for me because I like doing low poly. I spend most of my time in as low a poly count as I can, even in organic stuff. Take that shape and build it with as few points as possible. Get as much detail as you can out of as few points as you can. And then as you subdivide and scale up, from there, it becomes much easier to manipulate things and maintain those hard edges. Whereas with organic sculpting, if you sculpt from the top down, that being high resolution, you are going to have a lot of trouble getting those smooth forms over complex shapes because everything gets moved by the pixel. And you need to affect an entire broad surface in a uniform way. So the fewer polys you have, the easier it is to do that and still maintain that smooth shape. So
Great
see
answer.
the shape, build them in as few polys as possible, and work up from there.
That's exactly what I wanted. I mean, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I did that. That was a little, a little personal question is what it was. So.
Glad we could
Thanks
meet
for
your
teeing
agenda.
it up so squarely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what else do we get for doing this, right? Go ahead, Michael.
You want me to ask a question?
Well, whatever.
Oh.
Hum a few bars, whatever you want to do.
Well,
as long as it's entertaining.
Oh, well, that's a lot of pressure there. I was wondering, scale wise, Reapers, most of their figures, and you guys, is 32, 28 millimeter, 30 millimeter, whichever the heroic scale is of the month. Some of you have already mentioned busts. Gene just did a fantastic, was it 70, 75 millimeter Cyber Chick for this con.
Thank you.
Yeah. There has been interest, I've heard from Ed, related to doing more of those, and then maybe doing some for ReaperCon as well. Hey, here we got this scale. Oh, we got this metal part. Let's do this. Does that changing that scale, is that exciting for you? Is that like, oh, I'm doing pretty much all you guys are doing, you're all doing digital now, so you can blow it up everything. But talk a little bit about the changes that you would need to.
That's not how that works.
No.
I'm getting there, Chris. Hold on. Just don't kill the question. Wait till it comes to you and wait your turn. There is changes that need to happen with the scale. Are you excited about that and you want to incorporate that? Chris, I'm avoiding you with this question. I'm going to Gene.
Sure.
Yes, there you have to sculpt more detail so it can show up, because we sculpt less detail because it just won't show up, and we have to sculpt it bigger so it will show up, especially for printing. in miniatures. So to do this on a 75 millimeter figure, you can get more details on there. And it takes a little more time, because you are adding more details, but it's also a little more fun because I don't want to stomp all over Chris's hand thing, but you do get to sculpt more intricate details like hands and faces, and they're not so exaggerated. So
do you find that you distort things less or abstract them less at 75 than you do at 32?
Most
definitely. That would make sense. I just wondered if that was a thing you were doing cognizantly.
Yeah, most definitely. In fact, I had to create a new base mesh for that figure because I usually do a 5.5, 6 head tall base mesh for a standard Reaper figure, and this one was 7.5, I think, just almost, or it might have been 7, but almost a realistic proportioned human, not quite, but almost. So. And, the bigger they get, the more you want them to look realistic. So it will change proportions. It will change all the dynamics of what you're actually sculpting. So that's my take on it. And Ed has me working on another figure right now that's a 75. I can't tell you what it is, but I'm doing that. And Ron mentioned something about, possibly for ReaperCon doing another one. So I think Reaper is more open to a larger scale, So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. But
and dibs.
Well, now we'll all want to do 75s.
So
now you're opening a door for it.
Well, they had that 54 millimeter range for a while, the Master Series.
Right. Master Series.
I'm sure they'll do it. They'll do it with this 75 too. I would think. I don't know.
Chris, I don't want to leave you out of this discussion. What would you like to add? Is there anything more you'd like to add with what Gene had to say?
No, Gene probably he hit all the highlights of scaling up. It's the details. Yeah. You take something that has a 0.5 millimeter panel line in it and you blow it up to 72 millimeter. All of a sudden, you've got a millimeter and a half line in there. That's unacceptable. So scaling up just simply doesn't work. You have to work in a different headspace, quite literally. So your proportions have to be more accurate.
Is a scale excite you one way or the other more to do?
I don't know if excitement is really the word for it. It's different. So having projects that you do that are like palette cleansers, where you're concentrating on one thing and you keep seeing those same elements repeated over and over again, that's not necessarily a good thing. So you do something different, you do it in a different scale, and that clears your head. So it's very gratifying, and I enjoy it immensely. I'd like to do more of that kind of stuff.
Somewhat along that same
line. It only really
line.
gets exciting when you see the final product.
Yeah. Somewhere along that same line, Christine, did you notice, I know you guys do printing. Did you notice when you started to print your figures, did that change how you approach the detail?
Oh my gosh, so much. We had a printer, but we almost never used it because it took forever, and I have a very old house, so anytime anyone walked across the floor, you were messing up a whole layer. So it was really not a viable option for test printing stuff, and we didn't really use it very much. We recently got the new Frozen Mini 4K.
Yeah.
And first of all, the detail, like Andy said, is just impeccable. It's amazing. I love it. But it's also super fast, so I can, set it to do supports and then print it out, go make dinner and pick up the kids from school, and by the time I get back, it's ready for me to look at. So that's great. And then when I look at it and I'm like, oh, okay, I thought this was going to be bigger. Oh, I thought this was going to be sturdier. Or, oh, I thought, this gap wasn't going to be a problem, but now that I see it, it's definitely going to be a problem for molds and stuff like that. So yeah, it's totally changed I'm making lots and lots of changes now to my workflow now that I've started printing stuff in my living room.
Yeah. Well, personally, for me, the transition to digital sculpting, I couldn't have done it, I think, without having a printer handy.
Yeah.
I really needed to see that come out on the other end. Most of it's due to the fact that I'm old and my brain is calcified, but just having the printer there and being able to run something off so I could see how what I was doing digitally translated was a tremendous help. That was an old spool printer, but now I have an epoxy printer, and it really cranks stuff out. But I noticed it did really change the way I sculpted. Go ahead, Michael.
I wanted to, since we had both Andy and Christine on, and I know Chris has had some experience too, but I really wanted to, I know Andy's been printing a lot for Jim over at Dark Sword. How have the printers have changed not only what you do, but how have they improved over time? Are they getting to a point where some moron like me could potentially buy the printer and utilize it and print off these
still a long way off.
files?
No,
I know, I think we are. But
that's the
I
Proctor
can't
standard. I
use
don't
it
think
by
anybody's
myself.
approaching the Proctor standard right at the moment.
right.
So,
It's still a little complicated, but the detail is really exciting.
So, I mean, that's the biggest change. When the 4K printers came out, now that they actually have a 4K printer with the print screen directly on the plate, and I'll cover this a lot more in my class tomorrow. But the issues that we used to have with detail, and when I first started getting into this, you guys all talking to me, well, it will never print. That'll never print. Well, it'll print now. The printers have changed. The new $400 Sonic Mini 4K makes the Form 3 look like a joke. I mean, seriously, we've tested 50 different printers. I kid you not. I wanted to see what would happen from a scale perspective. I sculpted this guy to be about this size. I shrunk it down to, and I know it's not going to show very well on the screen, to about 1 inch long. Every scale is perfectly detailed. Every claw is still perfectly detailed. I lost no detail. None. Zero.
Wow, that's awesome.
I can't cast this. The claws are too skinny for the metal to flow into, and it printed it just fine. So this is the big. This is the big thing. The new printers, it is no longer. If you can sculpt it in here, I can now get it out in this printer. It's that simple.
Yeah, we should have had a deal with Frozen before we started this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. They're just the first. Other people are coming. I mean, there's differences.
Yeah.
All 4K machines
So you
are
think
not the
the
same. It all
4K
depends on
is
how they're
what-
set up.
The 4K is
It's
what
not
really
just
made
4K.
the difference.
Well, the 4K allowed them to have, so before, in order to get a 6-inch print bed, they had to broadcast, they had to project that image up because the
Sure.
screens were 2-inch screens. Only the Solus Pro was able to take that 2-inch screen and put it up on a 2-inch bed or a 3-inch bed. It was a 3-inch bed, right? And that's why they said tiny little bed, but they had such amazing quality, was because there was no distortion from that projection. So today, when you get like one of these big 10-inch beds with a 4K screen, you're still getting that distortion because they have to project that, because a 4K screen is a 6-inch thing. But when you have a 6-inch bed and a 6-inch screen, there's no projection distortion. That's how Frozen, the 4K, the Frozen Mini 4K is getting 35 nanometer XY resolution. It's the best right now in the business because there's no distortion happening between the two things, right? And this is what I learned over a year worth of testing printers. Anyway, so it was so exciting when they came out with this because this was the technology we've been waiting for. Now, there's other things that have factors into that. There's less light leakage because the mono is clear. It doesn't, the old non-mono screens had color that distorted the light coming through and all sorts, and so they had to be on longer, which caused light leakage, which reduced your quality and all that. So now with a much quicker, much faster, much less issues. Now, is it easy? Is this something that you want to just bring in and slam in your house? And no, it's not. You need to think about it. You need to make sure, and we're going to talk a lot about safety stuff tomorrow too, because these resins are all toxic. There is no such thing as a safe resin. They are all highly toxic. even the eco resins are still toxic when in their liquid form, and they're very toxic to wildlife and stuff. When they are printed and cured, they're safe. There's actually new studies done that they're actually very safe. But you are bringing something into your house that has volatiles and gases and all this other stuff. As you can see behind me, there's a giant vent hood. Well, that's because I'm OCD and I don't really want to be breathing this stuff. So I put probably more than I needed in for it. I know some guys who are using just basically their airbrush hood. They just put the printer by the airbrush hood, and that's good enough to vent out the room, right? It actually works quite well. But you do need to think about it, and you are going to have flammable chemicals, isopropyl alcohols and denatured spirits, all that kind of stuff is required, right? So
yeah, you have to use 90% alcohol, don't you? 180 proof.
100 if you can find it.
I prefer 99. I buy it in big jugs of 99% alcohol. Yeah, you can get them off Amazon. They're not cheap right now and during the pandemic. But I go through a gallon or two a year. So
you could make that in a still though in your backyard.
I suppose I could. But a lot of guys have been going to denatured alcohol and methylated spirits, but those things are stinky, and I don't personally like using them. And I think you get a cleaner thing with this, but
not really any less flammable.
Right, and like I said, I'll be talking about this in great detail tomorrow.
I think one of the other big components to that is the auto support generation software isn't really plug and play for someone like me, or I guess like Michael. It's not something I can just be like, okay, here's my model, put supports on it and print it for me. It's not there yet. You have to meticulously go through and pick where those supports are going to go, what size they're going to be, all of that stuff, and plan for it. And there are people much better at that than I am, and
that's a whole art unto itself now.
Yeah.
And now that I'm actually printing miniatures for a miniature company for casting, and that is a thing that I could teach a whole class just on how to support a miniature, and how to sculpt for miniature printing. Because right now you can print things you cannot cast, and if you're sculpting just for the STL market, the printer can print stuff that we've never been able to sculpt before. Mouths with teeth
Andy's had the
inside of them, all that
misfortune
stuff, right?
Having to print some of my stuff.
But there are definitely things that you can do as a sculptor that can drive me insane trying to support it and then having to clean it up afterward for
That's
casting.
the goal.
Because
you say that like it's a deficit.
Neither of you two are you two are not my offenders. I won't name names.
Chris.
Jackson.
Yeah.
It's Chris.
So yeah.
I support
haven't had to print one of Chris's yet.
I want to let you guys
I
know.
haven't had to print Chris's yet.
You were you got 5 more minutes.
5
I
minutes.
hear Justin's voice, just sexy and low in the background.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Well,
You
you
can
tell.
He should read romance novels.
He should. He should.
I get this all the
Well-
time. I don't know why.
Since he's
They just told you.
again, I'm not sure when we'll cut this off. We got some time left, but I do want to get in a big thank you. It's wonderful seeing all of you. As we've talked about even in the last episode, I take my inspiration from all of you, and it's a tremendous community to be part of. And I'm really appreciative that you guys bothered to spend some time with us today and talk to the audience and talk to us. And I really miss seeing you in person.
Yeah, Bobby Jackson, are you ready? I want to thank all of you guys for being on. You guys did such a great job. I mean, Bobby Jackson was on before, and you totally blew him out of the water. He set a low bar, but the answers, your engagement, your involvement, I mean, the time you've dedicated to us, thank you very much. It's been fun. It's been a blast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It has been fun. Thank you.
Honestly, you guys all welcomed me with open arms my very first ReaperCon, and each and every one of you from the last panel and this panel have just been there holding my hand and helping me through the whole journey. And I love it. I miss hanging out with you guys. I miss spending the whole week together, but I am so happy to be able to have these little meet and greets where we can chit chat.
How did you get
Well,
that?
we
You
talked
gave
about-
me crap my first ReaperCon.
Yeah, we did.
Whatever.
Randy, that hasn't
We
changed.
talked
No,
about
it
the
sticks.
old one list
Sticks-
sculpting,
it
and
sticks
that
on
was
miniatures. That's all you're always going to be remembered for.
that was how we set. I mean, it was set before I got into the business, but we've always tried to share what we know with other people. In some industries, especially art industries, it tends to be more of a competition. And we can't deny that it's a competition now, even among those of us on this screen. But one of the nicest things is that most people I know in our industry have the theory that you arm everybody with the same set of tools. You know, you share your tricks, you share your tips. And
We fight, but it's a fair fight.
Well, sure. Well, it's more than that because you're helping to build everybody else as you're building yourself, and that's a good feeling.
A rising tide floats all boats.
Amen.
Thanks, JFK.
Perfect. Well,
Wow.
I want to thank everyone here too for doing this, and thank you very much, Jason and Michael, for putting this together. They made this very easy to do as a result. So
Well,
the two
thank
of
you,
as well.
Justin.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for reading the emails and actually following the directions. That was tremendous.
One last thing I want to do before I send us off into the sunset here, and you guys get ready for your D&D game, though, is I wanted to play another request by Bobby here.
Please.
Yes. But more specifically, I think it's better, Michael, if we play your favorite.
Oh yeah, play my favorite.
Here we go.
All right.
You know, if only you could make the background move with this stuff, it'd be even better.
I could do that too. Hold on.
It'd be a much more immersive experience. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now we got it going.
All I see is
Now,
asterisk from Bobby.
Best
in the chat.
show
I
on
don't-
TV. I mean, look at this.
You're not cursing, are you, Bobby? That's not okay.
Yes, we've got the music. We've got
You can continue this right on into Reaper Aaron.
background and motion.
You know
We
what?
don't need this for the
You're
game.
right. I'll shoot it on over to Frank just for Bobby.
Frank's been working so hard on his stuff. We don't want to
Thanks, guys, for
throw this.
coming out.
What
Thank
did
you for
Ed
doing
call
this.
it? Moving diodes or something?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone who was watching. We actually hit 235 people. Thank you earlier, Luca, for the raid. Everyone is awesome. So thanks again. And we will see you guys here in a few more minutes for some Reaper Aaron. Don't change that dial. I promise you'll want to watch this episode, even if you've never seen one before. It's worth it.
Yes, please.
Right.
10s for everyone.
Yep. You all are why we do this.
Yes. All right. Give
Stick
everyone a
around.
big wave while we transition here.
Bye.
Come on, you too, Chris.
Come on,
There we
Chris.
go. Perfect. Okay.
Bye,
See you guys.
Chris.
Wave with your hair.
He is.